Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies, host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And today we've got our Facebook coach, V Roberts, hanging out with us. And we're going to be talking about Facebook trends. So, V, what's going on with Facebook? It's obviously still going. It's one of the networks that's definitely still going. What's different in 2024 from 2023?
Well, I would say there's a much bigger drive with the kind of AI progression. And also, there's been quite a few changes in terms of Facebook groups that have been recently announced. So I think there's going to be a change in the way that we engage in groups and the way in which we are using the platform with all of these new updates that are happening in terms of ads and things like that.
And what do you think is important for people if people are to focus on three things this year with Facebook? What should they be focusing on?
I would definitely be focusing on quality content. That's definitely something I'm always an advocate for. And also making sure that you've got ways in which to build and grow a community that's engaged. You know, with the changes that are happening at the moment with the groups, it is going to be difficult, particularly for business owners and startups that have really relied on groups over the last few years. It's going to become a bit more difficult with the changes that are happening with Meta's new announcement. So I would definitely say looking at more innovative ways of connecting and building a community. And then the other thing is making sure that you're looking more at metrics. So not necessarily a trend, but definitely a behavior that I would strongly recommend if people are wanting to actually improve their use of Facebook for business or Meta for business.
Okay, well, let's go deep into this group change. So how have people been using groups up until now? And what's this change that's coming in and how's that going to impact people?
Well, Meta are always making updates, but basically the big change that people are going to see in a few weeks' time is that they're actually changing the ways in which you can interact in groups. So there's been lots of different changes in groups over the last few months, some of which members of the Tech Pixie community will be aware of because I'm often sharing updates. But the big change is going to be that where previously you could have third-party apps, for example, like StreamYard and other apps integrated into your Facebook group, as well as scheduling posts into your Facebook group and direct messaging capabilities, that's actually going to change. I'm not sure yet if there's going to be changes in terms of DMs, sending direct messages via the group, but there is certainly going to be a few major changes in terms of how you can actually use third-party integrations. In fact, they're going to be removing much of that with group API. So yeah, that's going to be a big shift for group owners and group admins that have previously relied on, as a group has expanded, scheduled posts, because we all know how hard it can be to, maintain and manage a Facebook group. So this is going to be a really big thing, I believe.
Well, we definitely found scheduled group posts challenging last year with Facebook. It was really hit and miss as to whether or not you could, you'd pre-schedule something and then it wouldn't go out and then you'd have to scramble to remember to do it. It's been pretty reliable. So what you're saying now, because we actually have 3 groups that we run on Facebook. We have our main Tech Pixies hub, we have our progression group, and we have also our Dream Builder group, and we do pre-schedule once a week. So what you're saying is that pre-scheduling feature is going away in 2024?
They're removing anything where you're using a third-party integration with your group is going to be
okay, but you can use Facebook's pre-scheduler still.
I believe you will be able to, yes.
Okay, because that was what was glitchy for us last year. So we can continue to use the Facebook pre-scheduler, but we can't use a third-party pre-scheduler to go into a group. That's interesting. So people who rely on third-party pre-schedulers. This is a great conversation, actually, because a lot of people, they want to know what's the best pre-scheduler out there. And actually, I always say the best pre-scheduler out there is the network itself. Like, you want to use the network's pre-scheduler. Like, you don't want to use a third-party pre-scheduler. There's a question that's coming into us from Instagram right now live, which is, how will we be able to live stream in the future if third-party apps are going? So presumably you'll have to live stream through the app.
Yeah, exactly that. Through Meta's app. Unless, of course, they bring out a new update where you can use specific platforms. Yeah, that is going to be the plan. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. Let's talk about that third piece, metrics. Let's go deep into that. What metrics matter? Because they've totally reworked the entire landscape of the stats and how you see it. I think it's actually nicer the way that you see the stats now. What are the metrics you want to be looking at? What are the key metrics that matter for Facebook in 2024?
Well, I think, again, leaning back in terms of groups, but also relevant to pages, community engagement. So if you've got a page, you should be really looking at the frequency of your posts in relation to when people are, interacting. Also the format of your posts, which are more popular. Is it going to be a carousel, that's performed better than a video? And things like view time metrics. So when you're looking at, your insights, when you're in the back end of your business page, make sure you're clear on view times. How long are people watching your videos? Are they interacting with the polls that you are spending a lot of time creating? It's got to make sense. And I think the biggest metric that I would certainly be looking at would be one around engagement and view time, because everybody's being told, create videos, do your shorts and do your reels, etc. And of course, now you can schedule reels, so a lot more people are using reels and short form content. So I would say, even on reels, look at the quality of the content that you're producing. Make sure you're providing lots of value, but most importantly, look at things like conversions. Look at things like, how many leads might you be generating if you're running a campaign? Because essentially we're all online to build community and, engage with people. But also, if you want to grow your business, right, you actually want to make some sales. So, and let's be honest, if you're trying to grow a business, we're looking at sales, we're looking at cha-ching, transactions happening. So I would say a really big metric, if you have got a Facebook shop, for example, or you've integrated your shop onto your page, you should really also be looking at monitoring on that as well. How many people are buying, how many people have still got an item in the shopping basket, and how would you use a process, during the sales process, to make sure that those people are buying or are making inquiries or are, making sure they come back to your page. You've got to have all of that set up if you're using Facebook for growth. Definitely.
Okay, awesome. Now, I think this is my perimenopausal brain. What was the number one thing you said we need to focus on in 2024? And let's break that down.
I would definitely say it's community engagement. So rather than people focusing on, all of these new AI things, particularly if you're new to using Facebook, which some members of TechPixie are, I would definitely say, rather than getting bogged down with all the new shiny things, work on building your community and work on creating valuable content that they will consume. And when I say consume, I quite literally mean content that they'd want to binge on, as if it was a TV soap or Netflix series. It's got to be that juicy, right? So having a content marketing plan to help you build community is key, but also understanding what your community want to see. What are they looking for at this time of the year? What do your previous years show you that they might have been interested in? Because you might be able to repeat that really easily without the overwhelm, right? So
I think that's really interesting. I'm seeing a lot of that happen in Facebook Reels, where people are like, they're repurposing all the reels that did really well, that grew their accounts.
Yeah.
And they're actually saying, this video is the video that changed our lives, and that's where they're using it. So I do think you can repurpose the content that did really well in the past. You can, because you're going to have new followers that have never seen that content. It's buried and it's gone. So that's great. And as you can hone in on the themes that were working well, it's almost like going back and updating that content and giving a new perspective on it. But really, what's resonating with people, if you've got any history whatsoever and what's resonating with them, and then revisiting that and re-elevating that, that's a great tip.
I feel like, a lot of people spend too much time creating new content all the time, new. And actually, what I was saying to my coaching community recently is that you can use content that you've used before, particularly if the stats show, and you can look at your insights to check. If your stats show that in the last 2 years, for example, on Instagram or Facebook, you've had a post that performed really well, you could either reuse it if it's evergreen without any reference to dates and prices that may have changed, reuse it, or you can revamp it. And what I've been suggesting that my clients do is revamp what you've got at the moment, use a more up-to-date brand, use some new colors or images, because you already know that works.
We just did that with a couple weeks ago. We had a gap in our podcast, and we couldn't, and we needed a podcast fast.
Yeah.
We took one from like a year ago. We then stripped anything that was date relevant out of it, and then republished it, and it became evergreen. It's an evergreen podcast now. Yes. And so that's such a great idea, to go back through the content you've got, strip out anything that makes it date relevant, add anything into it that you want to, and then republish it. That's great. Okay, so engagement is still key. Where's the key place that you look for when you're looking at those engagement metrics?
So I'll usually go into the Meta for Business dashboard, where you can get lots of information. You can schedule content, you can view what you've already got scheduled. But in terms of analytics, I will look in there, and I'll usually do a custom date range. So, for example, you may know, Joy, I run a social media management agency, and one of the things we like to show our clients is specific periods where we've come on and taken on their account up until the current day versus the previous period.
I love that dashboard, by the way.
Yes. So we like to evidence how much results we can bring in for our clients so that they understand the value that they get from investing in our business and our services. And so similarly, if you have a small business, you want to make sure that you're making best use of your time. So look at your analytics, maybe do an every month review, maybe, at the end of quarter 1 review, how much time have you spent online? Maybe keep a log. That's something that I do with my clients. Keep a log over 30 days of how much time you spend online, and then look at your insights for that exact period to see the amount of content you produced, to look at the amount of engagement you may have got over that time, to look at how much time you spent, engaging with your community, and then to look at things like conversions and video view times and click-throughs to your website and emails that you may have got as a direct result of that activity you were doing online. These are the kinds of key metrics that small business owners should be looking at to make sure we are doing our best in terms of spending time wisely, because a lot of us don't have much time.
Well, one of the things that I taught recently on our strategy call was basically like engagement maths. And I think for, there might be someone here who's listening who's brand new to social media, because we work a lot with women just getting started with social media. Mm-hmm. So I just want to run through the engagement maths so everyone's on the same page. So generally, and Facebook makes this really easy because there's sort of 3 engagement metrics. There's reactions. It used to be just likes, but obviously now you can react any way you want. You can be angry at it. You can love it. You can care for it. You can like it. So there's your reactions plus your comments plus your shares. And the 3 of those added up together gives you a number. And then if you divide that by your following, that gives you like a sort of a rough guideline as to what your engagement is. So, if you make math, we'll do really simple math. Hopefully I won't mess it up. You've got 100 followers and you've got a post that's just gone out and there's 10 reactions, 10 comments, and 2 shares. So that's, if you add that 10 plus 10 plus 2, that's 22. Mm-hmm. That's a 22% engagement if you've got 100 followers. Now that's probably a bit high, but that would be the sign of, wow, that posted really well, because you're getting that much engagement. Typically, your organic content only gets seen by 3 to 7% of your audience. So to get that kind of engagement is probably out. You're knocking it out of the park, which is why I say to people, they're doing better than they think they are. What are your thoughts on paid advertising and why it's important to bring paid advertising into the mix?
I think it's really important that people think about, before doing ads, and I always say this to clients, what is the purpose of the ad? What's the outcome that you want from it? So you've got some specific objectives that you are working towards, but also what's your ad budget going to be? Because you need to be realistic. And also, have you done this before? Is this a project or product or service or event that you have actually marketed before? What could you learn before you implement the advertising campaign that will help you to make informed decisions about the campaign you're about to run? In other words, don't just spend money on ads. Recently, there's been some changes with Facebook, and Meta's recently announced that if you are doing ads through the Instagram app, rather than Instagram.com or the Facebook app, you will actually incur, if you're boosting your ads, a 30% fee, a 30% service fee. Okay, so what I would say to people is, if you're going to do any ads, make sure you use the original platform rather than going via the option that's going to get you that 30% service fee. But also make sure you think about your objectives. Make sure you've thought about a budget beforehand, and make sure you're realistic. Because if you're running with something that you've never done before, and you're just throwing money after it because Facebook or Instagram are telling you to boost a post, you may run the risk of wasting money. So get really clear on, if you're going to do ads, the platforms you're going to run it on, who you're going to target, the sales objectives of running that ad campaign, but also, the period it's going to run from, and, just managing your own expectations about the likelihood of you getting any results, because a lot of people use ads and we don't use it in the right way because we're not clear on what we're doing. We haven't actually looked at those specific goals.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things we teach in our Business Beyond Social course, which is the course that people do after they do the social media management certification, is actually about getting engagement, creating engagement posts in your ads first and building up that know, like, and trust factor before you give them sort of, an ad that would convert them to a lead, let's say. And I think the best way to find out, the best way to create content that's going to do well on, like, let's say, an engagement campaign is to create engaging content, test it out organically, and then see what's doing well, and then use one or two or three of those. So I think that's very sound advice. And I think a lot of people go into paid advertising. I certainly lost a lot of money early on when I first started thinking boosting was how to do it. And then I did a Facebook ads course and realized, no, I want conversion ads. And it's moved beyond that now. There's a whole, obviously it makes a lot of money, but it also costs a lot of money to set up properly and do properly. But it can really work for your business.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when we're thinking about the types of posts that people can put onto Facebook, right? So you've got live video, which we're doing right now. It's going through a third-party app. So fingers crossed we don't lose that ability.
Yeah.
But you've got live video, you've got Reels, which just took Facebook by storm last year. Like, I think it was sort of a non-existent thing on Facebook in 2022. 2023 it took off, and in 2024 that is actually what I watch most of my short form content on is on Facebook. I think it's, for me anyway, I think the algorithm knows who I am versus TikTok, where it's a little bit, I get shown some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas on Facebook, I get really wholesome, happy stuff that I like. So I really like hanging out on Facebook, and here's the thing I'm seeing, a lot of TikTok content creators leaving TikTok and going to Facebook Reels. That's been a really interesting trend.
Yeah.
They're leaving TikTok completely. And so that's very interesting. So short form content still big, live content still big. We've been testing out the events feature where we can create an event for a live event. That's been driving more people to our lives. That's been working really well. The other thing that's still working is sort of multiple image posts, which are sort of like carousel posts on Instagram, but you can't do carousel posts on Facebook. So it's actually almost like a gallery. I mean, what else can people be doing? I always tell people they need to make sure they're leveraging their Facebook page banner and changing that out just like a billboard, and not making that stale. That's actually a post that they can leverage. What are your thoughts?
I think those are really good tips, and I would also probably add to that as well, thinking about instant messaging and using automation in terms of platforms like ManyChat, for example. So we've got a lot of Meta for Business users that have shops, and sometimes if you're one person business owner, you may find that you're getting a lot of questions via direct message or SMS text, and you can actually integrate that using tools like Klaviyo or ManyChat to enhance the user experience. So I think definitely look at automation in terms of tools like ManyChat, which you can integrate with even WhatsApp messaging as well on your Facebook business page. And I'd probably also add as well, and you have kind of leaned into that already, but video content generally, even just outside of Reels, both on Instagram and Facebook, you can upload video content that is not a reel. So let's not forget that, because I think a lot of people I often get questions via the agency actually about people that are wanting to upload videos on Instagram that are longer than a minute. And they always say, oh, it's cut me off, it's cut me off. But what people don't realize is that on Instagram, just as an example, you can use video content longer than a minute, but you have to upload that as a post rather than a reel. Okay, so there's a quick tip. The two platforms are very much related, right? So for anyone stuck on things like that, even with Facebook, it doesn't have to be a reel. You can upload your video as a video post, right? And then remember as well that as we've got different campaigns coming up, as we are approaching different seasons, different awareness days, you can always use the featured section and the playlist section of your business page. So if you want to highlight a special offer, a coupon code, an announcement, maybe you're speaking at an event, maybe you're launching a book, use the featured section of your business page. That way, when people land on your page, they are able to see straight away what it is you've got going on or what it is you're doing in that moment, right?
So the featured post, meaning you're putting up a post and then you're pinning it to the top of the page.
Absolutely, yes. And it's actually called the featured section. And then, of course, the usual kind of business stuff that you might do every quarter is to make sure you aren't still showing your Christmas or your festive opening hours. Make sure that you've updated any links that you've got, and make sure that you are using the blue call to action button. So if you had a Christmas offer on there, or you had your 12 days of Christmas blue button there, don't forget to update it. Right?
Yeah, that is so true. I've talked about this before on the podcast where I was running £100,000 Kickstarter campaign and we were doing all the organic social media for it. And a couple months after Christmas, no, it was in August, a couple months. So we were running in August. And then in about October, I get this message like, Joy, is it true that the button on the Facebook page is still going to the Kickstarter campaign? Oh my gosh, I felt awful because, that's for a business where there's a shop now, that button is really essential, but you want to make sure if you're doing any kind of campaign, it goes right back to what it's supposed to be. That is such a great tip.
Another tip to that, actually, because I know that a lot of my clients that work with Etsy stores and things like that, where there's an e-commerce element, don't forget that you can also use the blue button on your Facebook page to get people to opt in or entice them to opt into a mailing list, right? So if you don't have a mailing list sitting on an e-commerce platform at the moment, don't forget you can use your Facebook business page to build your own mailing list on the Meta business platform. Just link them to your lead page or your sign up form via Facebook. All right.
Okay, so you're going to have to go back and do that one again because that one's a big one.
Yes. So you want me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So many users, many in the TechPixie community, I'm sure, who have Etsy accounts or Shopify stores, wherever you have your shop online. You may not own that email data, or you may not be able to email your customers. So a quick hack around that is to use your Facebook for Business page or Meta for Business page, and that blue button, which I call the CTA button, direct people from that blue button to your MailChimp or your email sign up or your lead page where you're offering, more tips or a subscription service or signing up to your email newsletter. Push it through your Facebook for Business page. Or better still, if you've got your own website, direct them to your website so that if you've got your Facebook business pixel on there, you can still track everything.
Yeah,
right? That's a tip there for everybody who may have an e-commerce store.
I love that. Yeah. And most of the people we have a lot of people, some people have products, I'd say a lot of people are more on the coaching and services side, but I think that's a great tip. And we have people listening to this podcast who do have products and sell products. I think you mentioned something really interesting because you said Meta a few times. And obviously we know Facebook's changed its name to Meta and it's got a suite of products, Facebook being one of them. So in the Meta world, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, and you've mentioned it today. And I think it's really important. You've got WhatsApp. WhatsApp has been a huge game changer for us in the sense that I have actually now put on my website a tab which says like WhatsApp me. And basically people hit that button and then I've got business WhatsApp and they can just start asking me questions. I can voice note them back answers and there's this deeper connection. I'm a huge fan of WhatsApp for business, and it's been really great for our business. And I definitely think we've been able to get some sales across the line just because I've been available to answer questions as people are trying to make a decision, and WhatsApp is faster than email. So do you think WhatsApp strategy is important for anyone when they're thinking about, because that's a Meta product, when they're thinking about how they want to use Meta products?
Absolutely. I think anyone who has got a digital marketing strategy needs to make sure that they review their platforms, right? Because again, we're talking about Meta for Business right now, but some people are on Facebook or Meta and they actually haven't really thought about a content marketing plan or even why they're on Facebook. So let's start there. But even with that, really qualifying, what is the content you're going to be sharing, the order of which you're going to share it in is super, super important. So, I think it's really important people think about what they're doing and when they're doing it, and having a coordinated approach really does help.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, this is a podcast episode packed with tips. Anything else you want people to know about going into 2024 with their Facebook strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I've been sharing quite a bit in theme with my campaign, which is Here's to a Better 2024. I've been sharing
More
quite a
in
bit.
2024, right?
Yes, more, or as much as we can manage, I would say. But I think a lot of us need to really pause. Many of us have just rolled into this year without really giving much thought to setting objectives. And I want to leave the session today with you by just reminding people that Facebook is just one social media platform, and actually, social media is just one type of marketing tactic. So, therefore, what you want to do is make sure that what you're doing is integrated. So, don't just review Facebook on its own or start changing up Facebook on its own. Actually, look at it as an integrated piece of the wheel where you're reviewing social media alongside your website, alongside your email, alongside your video, and things like WhatsApp messaging. Review it all together as part of an online marketing strategy. I think that's so important. And I've actually got a complimentary webinar where I've been sharing with people exactly how they can do that. And I'm sure if people want to access that, they will. But it's really important you review what you're doing. Even as you watch this episode, review where you are now before you dive into doing the most using Facebook, because it's important that you manage your own expectations, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, we'd be happy to link to that into the show notes. So we'll make sure if you're interested in V's workshop that's in the show notes.
Okay, yeah.
How can people find you? Where can they find you?
So, being the social butterfly that I am, you can find me on Insight and then the number 2 marketing. So that's Insight to marketing. And then we also hide behind the Insight to social page as well, which is Insight and the number 2 social. And then I did want to just mention that I know some of our tech pixies at the moment have already been using this, but I also have a brand and marketing planner, which is an absolute gem for anybody who wants to plan out their content and coordinate and map out what you're doing and write in the workbook sections, etc. There's lots in here. If you want to know more about content themes and planning out for your small business or startup, I would highly recommend that you check that out.
Awesome. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for taking the time this morning to talk us through what we need to be doing in 2024. Sounds like the group engagement metrics. This is the focus in 2024. What are you doing with your groups? What are you doing with your engagement? And what are you doing with your metrics? And those are big moves to be focusing on. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first, or ladies, I should say. I think most people listening to this are actually ladies. But what I just want to say is that was great insight from, an amazing woman, V Roberts. She's a coach at TechPixies. She also runs a marketing agency, as you heard. So she's got some really, really great insights. Claire Louise listening live through YouTube says she's got the planner. It's great, super valuable. So we will definitely link to the planner in the show notes. I'm thinking, maybe we'll have to fill this out, but maybe that should be a gift that we give all of the tech pixies that come in, do a little partnership with V there. I think that would be super fun. So if you think that's a good idea, maybe email support@techpixies.com and let us know. I think V probably would think that's a good idea. So anyway, thanks for listening. And of course, this is your social media trends. We have done YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. We've got Instagram to come. We also did TikTok and social media strategy. So if you've missed the social media trends series for 2024, make sure you go to techpixies.com/podcast and you can grab the series. So we'll have that information on the website and you can get the whole series no matter what time. We do this every year. And I love this series. It's one of my favorite series. It's one of the most popular series. It is the most popular downloaded series that we do every year because, of course, we teach social media and we want to keep people up to date. In our programs, of course, our coaches meet with our students every single week and they update them on the weekly changes. This is our annual update on our public podcast, but we do weekly updates in our group to our students. And I think they really value that. So if you want those insider insights into social media across all the major networks, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, then you're going to want to think about joining TechPixies. You can find out more at techpixies.com. And we look forward to helping you and supporting you on your journey. And that's it for now. I'll see you around. Bye for now.